Hello everyone and welcome back to Winter Data Meetup. My name is Alex and I'm host for this session. I hope you are finding these sessions insightful and inspiring so far. Meet Ismael, a data expert with years of experience in data governance. In this session, you will get practical tips how common mistakes can be avoided and real-world lessons for successful data governance projects. Join us to learn strategies that can boost your data governance efforts and lead to success. But before we start our session, I'd like to take a moment to ask you for your support in growing our community and recognizing our incredible speakers. If you enjoyed today's discussions and want to stay updated on upcoming events and talks, please take a second and click like and subscribe buttons below. Your participations not only acknowledges our efforts but also helps us to reach a wider audience. Also, in the video description below, you will find a link to the talk page where you can first find the recording, also find a presentation file, but also you can share your feedback and award the speaker a badge and rate this session if you like or if you don't like. Your input is incredibly valuable. Additionally, we'd love to hear from you your thoughts about this talk. If you have any questions or insights, feel free to drop them into the chat, and our team is monitoring it actively, and we will discuss the questions after the presentation during Q&A session with the speaker. So your contributions make the discussion even richer, so don't hesitate to participate. And now, let's get back to our speaker. Ismael, floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex, for introduction. So, hello everyone that is there listening to this talk. What I would be talking today is about my personal experiences and how I consolidated that into some tips and tricks on how to execute data governance and data management projects. In order to give a little bit of context, so currently I'm data delivery manager for EPAM, but in total I've been over 20 years working on data projects for multiple roles. Particularly out of those 20, 14 I've been working on banking. And that meaning that I had and I've lived the immersion of the BCBS 239 regulation, and definitely one of the biggest push that was received for data governance projects across all domains. In all those projects, I've been hosting different roles. It could be eventually leading the project, leading the team that was implementing, or I was just needing to use the policies and procedures that were created by another team. So definitely that would help in order to back up the tips and tricks that I've collected for you today. Just a little bit to add additionally is that I'm passionate about data platforms and data governance projects. I see the beauty on all those. And well, in any case, I would be expecting as well your questions at the end of the talk. What would you, or how would we structure the talk today? So first, we are going to just give a very brief and fast context setup on data governance and data management for all of us to have the very same language. Also, I would like to give like some projects or the description of some example of projects and involvement that you can have and that you would be touching data governance and data management. Some examples that are based on my personal career. So type of project that I've been executing. Based on them, I would provide those tips and tricks that I've collected. And at the end of the talk, I would eventually add some AI, Gen AI type of suggestions that you can use in order to also improve the way that you are operating with a data governance project. And without more delay, let's get into this definition. So data governance defines actually how the things are done with data. So it gives the instructions, the processes, the standards, and they basically constitute the oversight organism. So it's important to take into account that effective processes are always there in order to improve how we work. But in corporations, especially if they are very big, adoption is actually the challenge that we need to close with a project. That's what we will need to execute within them. So, but sometimes it is confused. What is data governance? What is data management? Where one finishes when the other one starts. So, data management is actually the execution of the projects of the different lines on the regular business as usual activities, while data governance make this oversight and provide all the context on policies, procedures, directives, standards, everything that is required in order to execute. Just bear in mind that data management, in many occasions, if not always, starts before there is a data governance in place. Because at the end of the day, people has already been implementing data models, have been implementing different initiatives, creating BI structures far before there is a governance in place. Just moving ahead, within data governance, I mean, there are multiple disciplines that are included and that are regulated by it. I will not go on them, but I would expect that you are already familiar with many of those if you have been working with data projects. I mean, from data models, from data protection with the security, how to move the data from the different layers that we have, ETL, ELT, big data implementation, the current importance of the inclusion of data ethics, the eternal data quality measurement. That is one of the key points that any organization is basing themselves upon, and also the introduction of different roles. This is kind of disciplines that we could be including onto this lane. And last but not least, I want to talk that the way in which the data governance is normally introduced or recommended is by the introduction of a program that will just collect all the initiatives that are going to be executed, so that finally we can have the inclusion of different questions like I'm labeling here. For example, the introduction of policies, the introduction of the data quality rules, and also the ways of measuring and improving them, introduction of different standards, how to manage an issue if it is in place, and so on and so on. Once we have this context in place, let's move into those examples of projects. And I would just mention here, of course, without mentioning which corporation it is, but you could probably relate to at least with the domain in which this is happening. One of the projects that I was involved was the implementation of the RDA. I mean, if you have been in banking in Europe on the last 15 years, definitely this is going to resemble you. As well, the implementation of different projects in the area of regulatory reporting following the BCBS 239 standards, Basel 3, Basel 4 type of scope. Actually, these regulations enter when in 2008 we had that famous crisis that all Eurozone suffered. And the regulation was born on the 2013, and it provided a very big impulse for data governance project to be implemented, particularly on banking and financial institutions. Also, I've been involved on projects where we needed to migrate a data platform from one technology to another. And one of those situations, typical ones that we all face, is the merge of multiple legacy platforms into one single one, and eliminating the anti-patterns that have been created by years of not operating on a governed environment. The execution of those projects while we are having data governance implemented. It's a typical project that not only on banking, but definitely on other domains, it's quite a popular one. Also, the launch of a data transformation program, I was involved, and also the setup of the data governance structure, or the movement of one governance model to another, that we will also have a little bit of discussion in a few minutes, and also the implementation of reference and master data management, that are initiatives that are quite relevant today. So having those examples in mind, that projects that I've been involved with, let's go now over the tips and tricks. So What is the first tip that I want to introduce? Decide on the governance model as soon as possible. There are three typical ones that are used as standards, like centralized, decentralized, or federated, that basically, for the ones that are not familiar with it, is where do we reside on the governance body, if it is centralized on one very single group, or it distributed across different vertical lines in organization, or even federated, that is centralized governance and separate execution. What is important? Why it is important to have the governance model defined as soon as possible? Because it will give you clarity and help identifying what are the relevant actors on the organization. Let's bear in mind that we are implementing this for the corporation, and that there will not be a total new team being introduced. So it is important that we have from the day one the guidance on how to allocate the different people. The decision on which governance model is better is always dependent on the size and the type of organization, and in some occasions, the presence of already key roles there. That's why I want to relate with some anecdote of my past. While doing this implementation and in one financial institution, actually the governance model that we needed to select was federated, because we had three key people that were able to contribute very actively. So centralization, full centralization was not possible. Decentralization was not possible as well because of the size of that institution. So then it was very important, after having discussion with those three people, that we would move into federated, and their collaboration ended really, really well for a successful implementation. Just for sake of the anecdote, one of those three people ended becoming the CDO of organization. So that was a very good result. What I should recommend to avoid when selecting the governance model: avoid exception or asymmetries. If you introduce a rule that is unfair, so that one person is benefited in front of others, it will create problems on future. And unfortunately, I have also those situations on my experience, and I learn hardly from that. And also, don't make ad hoc adjustments to the roles. If a role say this obligation, don't add more duties or decrease duties just because one person is coming there. Next tip and trick: make an official definition of roles and responsibilities. Not only that you formalize the duties inside the program that you are using to implement the data governance, but also that it is formalized inside organization with the roles and description that are going to be used for hiring people and for evaluating people on the yearly evaluation. Definitely, this will give you the possibility for the program to be really understood, what the people needs to do. It will just cover all these responsibilities vacuum that can happen and happens whenever you are trying to introduce this, especially when you are doing it from zero, and will help you recognize the people. So there is a part of this project that implies getting the collaboration of people, even going extra mile in most of the occasions. So you are especially interested that that extra mile will be recognized from the very beginning, and if possible, get all these roles just formalized and approved by the steering committee and also by the overall organization. And just bear in mind that whenever you will have an audit, especially if it is a banking audit, this is a mandatory step. So the sooner you have it, not only because it will favor to reduce mistakes, but also because it will give you a green light and one of the key points of any audit. I had the experience on past when not having data owner or data steward defined as a role, and getting the collaboration of people just on goodwill was not a good idea. And only when this formalization happened, it was the moment that the project became successful. Next tip and trick: have a data strategy in place and sign. This is actually key. Why? The key strategy signed by the C-level of organization will help you get approved the different initiatives that you need to have inside the program. And also it can give you a clear vision of what the company really wants. when you are reviewing the data strategy, and I really hope that the people involved on the project with the relevant responsibility has this option, review that there is no ambiguities or unrealistic aspiration, because that would hinder your possibilities when you are implementing the program. And also that, and this is very important tip because it is sometimes forgotten, IT efforts needs to be included, not only the business unit aspirations. Otherwise, you will struggle in the having the approvals in order to execute this or that initiative. Uh, Without the strategy in place, I tried to launch one project once. I mean, at least my team was executing it, and we ended on multiple discussions that basically delayed more than 3-4 months the actual execution of the project. So bear that in mind, it is quite a relevant situation to tackle. Another one that we have been mentioning it on the previous ones, have top level management involved in all the decisions that you are taking. I mean, worthless to say, if you have top management helping you in the escalations, in the getting projects approved, it will definitely push that your project is going on the right direction. What I would suggest here is be very transparent on the status and on the risk management that you will be using with them within Stirco, and add education. All those coffees that I dedicated with the C-level executives of my projects in order to do explanations on why we were doing things once and again. And believe me, in some cases, some explanation required 5-6 repetition. They were worth use, because whenever the time comes, they were the main supporters on the things that we were trying to implement. So use this opportunity to and use their collaboration in order to get this push. But please also try to avoid using the C-level card many times, because otherwise it will just create mad on the evolution of the project, and that will not help you. Just use it on the right time. Another tip that I want to share with you today is drive the change, this transition, as a program, not as separate initiatives. Have a consolidated roadmap. In my past, I suffered this situation when the organization didn't want to create a particular program, and unfortunately, I gave a green light in order to execute it by using the collaboration of different people that were on different roles, and also using separate projects to add the governance initiatives that we needed to implement. As a result, it was a total disaster. So we needed to move into program in order to achieve the minimums that we were hoping to get. By having a consolidated program, so sponsorship is clear, the control is clear, you have a steering committee with top level management, again, that could help you move ahead. Otherwise, it will be madness and actually not recommended to move into that direction. Again, when you are having this program, important, have early quick wins. It's unfortunate, but data governance project, they don't have very strong quick wins, or a strong return on investment that you can argue as a great benefit. It is more structural in many occasions, and it is very difficult to show that there is economical benefit that we have on it. So having early quick wins that you will show, for example, in data quality, that you are actually making the difference with the program that you are implementing, and with the introduction of data governance, will help you give room for the team to continue working, and also create a calm space in which there are no bad talks about what you are doing, and actually situations in which it will be put it under question what we are implementing. Now, leverage external authority. This is one of the most important things that most people oversee. We were mentioning that data governance projects and programs are not the most popular ones because of the smaller return on investment. So how can we get the project done by using third parties or audits that will emphasize on what you need to do? We all have experiences for sure when somebody that is inside the house is telling what is wrong and what is not done on the adequate way. So this situation changes dramatically when it's an external authority like an audit or one big four consultant company hired by somebody in order to make that evaluation. What I would recommend is don't be afraid of involving them because actually they are your friends. One, because they will help you sell the requirement of what needs to be implemented. Having an authority that is telling what needs to be done is always useful, but also, especially if the company you're working with has an internal audit department, it will help you having the four eyes principles on what you are implementing. So be transparent and clear with them and establish very clear lines of collaboration. That definitely will help on your project to go. Also, and that this is a very typical thing that is depending on who you are talking to, they will be giving a different idea. From my side, software tools are useful, but they should not be an stopper, meaning that you can always start data governance projects or eventually the introduction of processes, procedures, and so on without a tool. It will give you the clarity on what the process is in itself, and then leverage the software tools as the possibility to scale what you are doing. And particularly in banking, approval of adding new software, it's tedious, long, and it will not benefit you not to wait for the software tool to be on place. But it will also not benefit if you are doing everything in Excel and working fine. In a project, actually, when we were implementing RDA in one bank, we did everything with Excel, but we were limiting what we were able to do. Why? Because we needed two developers and five data quality engineers, if I recall well the number, just to execute a few amount of quality controls. When we added the technological tool, I mean, the one very good software that we use for that purpose, with just 8 data stewards role introduced, we were able to manage basically the whole organization completely. So the possibility to scale by using a tool was on place. And we were able to sell business case what we were doing with just a big amount of people, a small scope, but still we were able to introduce the process. That gave us a competitive advantage in order not to delay the implementation of the project. I forgot to say, deadlines when you are talking about regulatory implementations, it's always hard. That's why it is very important that you are not delaying just because of one decision like this. Another very important tip, and this I will mark with several exclamations mark because it's overseen by many people, set up a common terms dictionary. I've been in a project where people on relevant positions, and I'm talking about relevant position, I'm talking data governance officers, data owners, or eventually data architects, were calling the very same concept with three different names. This created enormous confusion, frustration, discussions that doesn't benefit a project. It was only by the introduction of a common terms dictionary and also that the possibility to focus on the discussion with this concept when we started advancing. So bear that in mind that this is a very important thing to do. What is my recommendation there? Use DAMA, for example, as the base for the dictionary and have a periodic review on the terms that the team is using in order to make some changes or some additions, but don't make too many changes. Once you have set up some naming convention, please follow that naming convention. It doesn't need to be perfect, but needs to be unique for the corporation that you are working for. Another one, and this is also something that I suffer on one transformation project that I was involved. The team must be fully dedicated. There is a tendency in organization to think that they will save cost by reusing people for the program implementation that they are currently doing some other duties. For example, some business analysts dedicate them as data stewards for just a time being or something similar. It will not fly. At the end of the day, the people that has already their own duties will need to give priority to those duties. And your roadmap of implementation of the program will be always a secondary thing to be implemented. You will end on endless escalations, endless reporting of extensions. And it is far more important that those roles are fully dedicated when possible. In some occasions, especially during the program execution, this will need to be, well, external support or people that will be hired for the time and then transition to organization later on. Manage this carefully, but especially for key roles like a data architect or a data governance officer or the data security expert, don't reuse. Ask organization to either move this person from the role to the new one and then replace the duties on the original place with another one, with another person that will be taking them over. Will it always be possible? No. Unfortunately, no, because we are all aware about cost control initiatives and things like that, but raise it as a risk because definitely it will impact on the deadline of your project. Another tip that I want to mention to you, set measurable goals on how you are adhering to the governance. Those goals, of course, smart, but I will emphasize on the S, simple, and NDM, measurable, and in the A, achievable. It's very important that you create something that is objectively measured, that it is very easy to translate what are the advances of the team that is doing this implementation. For example, number of tables that are governed already, meaning governed by data owner is assigned and taking responsibility. You have a data steward assigned. Uh, what are your quality score for those tables, but measure on a very objective way. Create controls that are fair and that can be moved across organization. Avoid subjectivity at all cost. It will always be questioned. But the most important thing here is not only that it will create a sense that you are improving progressively, link this with quick wins that we were mentioning before, but also competition, especially in a federated model or in a decentralized model that you will have multiple data owners. It is very interesting to see how between them they compete to do it better. Bear that in mind. Having measurable goals that are objective will help you gather more support from different members of the team. Another one, and it's very much related to the previous one, include as those goals data quality improvements. Organization will be really helpful, especially the people that is generating reports and the people that is exploiting the result of the reports, the business SMEs, because they will see that they will not need to do workarounds, they will not need to start correcting here or there because the data quality is already assumed. Just sharing with you, in the one place where we were working, there was one moment that the data quality was so good that whenever we were having an issue, it was a critical incident because basically we already did not have too much possibility to improve data quality. And we were missing that from showing what was our progress. Data quality is always a wildcard that you can use in your benefit when you are doing this implementation. Another one that I would use, define processes with real examples. Here, For example, I remember one in which we were having quality issue in a postal code that was in a dashboard for mortgages. And we created an example on how the data owner of that dashboard was communicating with the data owner of the application of mortgages where it was getting introduced. The show on how all the process work between the demand of one data owner to how another data owner accepted the change and led the implementation and the initiative for implementing the modification on the backend, that help us to show the real benefit on how the processes are important on data governance. What you need to avoid here? Abstract implementation. I mean, the people get lost when you are doing that explanation. What you should focus on, really get a good visual, describing the whole process end to end with a line and all the people that is involved on every process, as simple as possible. That will help you on selling the idea that the data governance is very much needed. And the last tip and trick that we will be showing today, dedicate attention to business SMEs. These are the people that justifies the data governance project to exist. They need to use reliable data for the real purpose of the company, for what it is created. If it is a bank, for having and taking better decisions. So care about them and don't underestimate using, well, informal talks. In my personal experience, having a coffee time with them regularly, it's always useful. Very informal for them to have a space to tell you what is really painful to them. If you identify what is painful to them, you have one really good point in order to create additional initiatives for your own program. And one idea that always helped me is introduce data champion. Recognize who is a very good SME that really uses data governance and make it public. Recognize them in front of your STIRCO, recognize it in front of organization. That is always helping. Now let's move to the AI part that I didn't want to pass it without mentioning. There are different things and examples where AI can really help. The first one is describe templates and examples on processes, standard procedures. I mean, use it. As you can imagine, the textual Gen AI, it's always receiving or it's connected to multiple information that is on the internet, and it's very easy to get some template that you can actually reuse. Of course, beware of hallucinations because not always the template is going to be adequate and you will need to adjust it. But it will help you to create a base draft that you will be able to modify. Like, for example, for creating documentation. In data governance projects, you cannot imagine until you enter on them how much documentation you need to generate, how many times you need to review a process. Having the invaluable help of Gen AI LLM algorithm helping you creating this base in order to be fine-tuned later, it's unquestionable. Another point that I'm seeing, even if I've not been using that myself directly, is having a RAG LLM connected to the organization where all documentation is. One of the major pain points that I've always had once the governance model is in place, it's precisely to navigate on all the documents and find the adequate one that is required for this or that. With a RAG, it will be much easier to obtain the information that it is required. Also, provide arguments in order to help you on the implementation, on the different modules. Also assist you on the whole SDLC process. This is not only for data governance project, but for anything that you will be implementing. Also suggestion of best practices. There is a lot of things happening all around, and it's on the internet. Definitely our LLM can take a view on it and share with you according to your prompt, and also analyze data in order to propose best quality controls. A couple of years ago, I was working with one particular software tool, making a POC, and one of the best things that they were including was the adding of AI in order to suggest the best quality controls. That could have helped the organization that I was working for, and also help detecting the gaps on a predefined model, always when we are submitting it. And using GPT-4, I have created here, you will be able to see them on detail on the slide deck, some prompts in order to, for example, give you some tips and tricks on how to implement data governance on a company efficiently. And some of the tips that were submitted here and provided by the GPT-4 are similar to the ones that I provided. Some of them are even contradicting, but as mentioned, never take as 100% accepted what the Gen AI will give you, but this actually would help. Also, another prompt that I use in order to give, according to DAMA, what are the roles and responsibilities, and it gave me a very good description of what are the most important roles. It's not all, but at least it's a very good start. Or eventually we'll create a template for a program charter. This is already related to the SDLC, or give me some ideas on how to convince a reluctant business SME. Also quite helpful. And with that, and some useful links that I will also have on the slide deck that will be shared with you later on, we go to the Q&A, and well, hoping to hear from your questions.
Yeah, thank you, Ismael, for interesting presentation. Yeah, we have questions. Let's cover them. So first, what's in your advice? What is your advice with driving data governance projects when the leadership of data organization is changing, including CDO and the levels below?
I mean, basically, when you are going to have this education, and the thing is that you need to have everything documented on the way possible, and also be present on the transition handover from between the role that is exiting and the role that is getting in. It is very important that the exiting CDO will grant you the trust to the new CDO, so that that part on the transition, it's already covered, and be very much backup, but all those objective measures that you have been including on the steering committee presentations that you will be having. Communication, transparency, that's the main advice that I can give.
Sorry. We also have one more question from the chat. What initial steps you think should a delivery manager take to engage customers in data governance activities effectively?
I mean, I can tell you what it works for me. Coffee time. If you are on site, coffee time. If you are online, a lot of education, spend a lot of time in one-on-ones. It is very important that they understand the benefit, and with examples. And the examples, you will need to repeat it once and again. But I would insist, a lot of informal talks. It will always pay off to gain the trust in you, in the team. Create the concept of data champion. It helps for them to feel recognized. Create t-shirts with the team and share with the business SMEs. I mean, anything that will help them get involved. That's one of the most important things that you need to do. They need to believe on what you are doing. You believe, you know that it's useful, but they need to understand why, and that they need to see the benefit of it. So communication, transparency, and my personal advice, coffee time. I could share with you that while I was doing this RDA implementation, I spent 2 hours per day on cafeteria waiting for business SMEs. They knew where I was, and we were having coffee together, and explaining and gossiping and why this and why that. It helped it. it really paid off. Not for my caffeine ingestion that just was skyrocketing, but at least for the project success.
One more pros of drinking coffee. Okay. Yeah. We have one more question. What's the difference between data governance and data management, and why does it matter?
I mean, data governance is the oversight, data management is the execution. Why it matters to have the difference or the difference settled? Because data governance is the others oversight. They should not be involved on the management, but they should provide the guidelines on how management it is done. It is very important that there are rules, and normally the people that is implementing, they want to do it on the easier way possible, but maybe that will not be compliant. So they need to have like different duties so that they can complement each other and that they can have the yin and yang of the implementation in order to balance and complement what is a burden. Because actually, I mean, I don't think data steward really wants to do all the checklist, but the checklist, it is needed because of regulation purposes.
Mhm.
They need to
Okay.
balance between themselves.
Probably the last question. How do you measure the success of a data governance initiative?
By adherence of to data governance of the organization. How many tables, how many schemas are governed against the ones that are not.
Mhm.
And also another KPI that I've used in the past is what is the implementation life cycle of a change. You will see that by implementing data governance, just in reducing the discussion time between the people that needs to take decisions, gets very much reduced whenever you have governance in place. Those two KPIs help on to reviewing the success of data governance implementation, amongst others. And you
Mhm.
can eventually ask GenAI for providing more examples, but those two really helped me on the past.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ismail, for an interesting topic. Yeah, thank you all for joining us today discussion. And in the description below, you'll find a link where you can find the recording of this meetup and also presentation file. And also on the talk page, you can also award Ismail a badge and rate this talk if you like or if you maybe don't like it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channels to get more content like that. And we hope to see you on our next session on Winter Data Meetup. Yeah, next session will be in a minute. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Ismail.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.